There is an animal that defies every beast in nature. Whether it's the mighty shark or the fiercest lion in the jungle, whether it's a wild hippopotamus or a colossal elephant, when they want to, crocodiles can become the most brutal killers in history. However, their bloodlust is not limited to the animal kingdom. There are truly chilling killings perpetrated by crocodiles that could rival the worst serial killer on the planet. Do you think that's exaggerated? Then you'd better stick with us to discover 3 creatures whose murders will freeze your blood. Number 3. Gustav's Case. There are several species of crocodiles that people wouldn't want to come across, but in Africa we can find one of the most brutal specimens of the family. This is the Nile crocodile, a creature with a strong presence throughout the continent that reaches 6 meters long, weighs 1,000 kilos, and has a strength that can compete with the modern automobile recycling industry. It is known as Africa's largest freshwater predator, and anyone who dares to approach could end up in the belly of this beast. Its ferocity does not discriminate between animals and humans. It attacks anything that moves, and of all the existing stories, the most striking one begins in 1987, specifically in Lake Tanganyika on the banks of the Ruzizi River. Here, the natives encountered a terrifying creature that began to decimate the fishing population. Overnight, the local men would wake up before dawn, equip themselves with nets and harpoons, get into their canoes to go fishing, but never would return. The authorities decided to investigate what had happened, but quickly discovered that they were facing something they had never seen before. The creature was extremely elusive, and sightings were so infrequent that the only clue of its existence was often found on the banks of the river, where sometimes they found a few parts of the corpses the beast didn't devour. In 1990, 3 years after the first cases were reported, Patrice Faye, a famous herpetologist, traveled to Burundi to investigate. At first, he thought it was just an ordinary and careless story. He was a veteran hunter and had enough experience to know when he was being fooled. But within days, he discovered that it was real, very real. The beast existed, and now he had to do the impossible to catch it. For more than 2 months, Faye did everything he could. He set traps and baits. He built metal cages and brought a group of armed men. He used all kinds of scents, prey, and even put his own life at risk. But the creature eluded each and every one of the traps, almost as if it was smarter than the hunter. Nevertheless, Gustav, as Faye had named him, definitely existed, and the killings continued to occur under the noses of Faye and the local authorities. No one managed to catch the killer, but the crocodile is believed to be responsible for hundreds of unsolved deaths. Number 2. An unknown crocodile. In the Tunisian desert, many people think that not much happens. Maybe they are not wrong. Maybe today it isn't the scene of great events, but 120 million years ago, things were different, very different. At least this is what the journal Cretaceous Research claims, in which researchers announced the discovery of ancient fossils that belong to a species called Machamosaurus rex, a prehistoric crocodile that was almost 10 meters long, making it the largest crocodile that has ever walked the earth. This find, of course, could have ended there and be nothing more than a simple anecdote of the past. However, something strange happened 2 years later. In March 2018, numerous reports from hunters in several Philippine provinces recorded a 9-meter-long crocodile. The beast was spotted by 100 men and fishermen, but unfortunately, many of the witnesses lost their lives when they encountered this water beast. An investigation was immediately launched. Was it a Machamosaurus rex? No one could say for sure. The largest crocodiles of our time reach up to 7 meters, but these are truly exceptional and rare cases. A 9-meter-long crocodile is something unthinkable for scientists, and the explanations seem really limited. Numerous TV channels and print media went to the area to interview the villagers. Discovery UK was among the interviewers. In their reports, one can see how horrified the population is, in addition to a large number of photographs of the terrifying creature that has left more than 20 families in mourning. Investigations in the area continued for several months. Hunting such a specimen was a priceless opportunity for many people, but no one has been able to achieve it. It is as if the creature has disappeared or simply eluded its hunters, and the number of dead bodies it leaves behind only continues to increase. It hasn't been caught yet, but continues to slaughter all those who have the misfortune to come across it. Number 1. Tom Two Toes. It's impossible to talk about beastly crocodiles without mentioning the swamps of Alabama. There, the locals know no other feeling but fear. To go into these places is to sign a death sentence, a bet against prudence. This has been true since the time of the Native Americans, but it was since 1920 that the most atrocious events known to date were recorded. Carl Karmer was a professor at the University of Alabama who was visiting the site during the summer. He had given an extraordinary course, and now he felt like exploring the place where he was born. However, since his arrival, he had been warned by outlying residents that a ferocious 5-meter alligator was in the area and was blamed for a dozen missing persons. The professor was somewhat skeptical of such occurrences, especially since he was familiar with the Alabama swamps. The tradition of disappearances and strange creatures in this place was older than he himself, and new legends were always emerging, but no one bothered to confirm them. However, on this particular occasion, he would be responsible for discovering the truth, although it almost cost him his life. Carl went into the swamp accompanied by a small group of brave locals, who told him about their many unsuccessful attempts to hunt the beast. They had used dogs, guns, and even a variety of traps, but none of them had had any effect. On the first day of the hunt, they did not obtain any results, except for a few tracks and some puzzling clues. The same happened the next day. Carl was about to give up and go back to the village triumphantly and say that the myths were completely false. But on the third day, he came across the creature. Its eyes were red and glowing, the jaw was elongated, much longer than that of any crocodile, and it had teeth so thick and sharp that they might as well have been steel stakes. It immediately threw itself against the bewildered hunters, who decided to escape from the area, but not before hearing the cries of several dogs that accompanied them, as some of them had been devoured by the beast. From afar, Carl was able to witness how the creature tore the hounds apart. One of the paws of the beast was missing 2 toes, and before it began to chase them, the group escaped from the area. From that day on, the Alabama swamp beast was given the name Tom Two Toes, and the number of deaths it caused is already in the hundreds. From the 1920s to the mid-1930s, his life consisted of murdering animals and humans who dared to set foot on that demonic land. Tom was one of the most brutal beasts in the area, and even after many decades, the swamp is still considered a maximum danger zone for the local natives. These killers were never caught, but the number of murders transcended time, making them some of the most brutal crocodiles in history. Their crimes could be compared to those of some serial killers, but if you really want to know some other chilling cases related to monstrous crimes or abominable creatures, then join us to discover them in the following videos.